Evolutionarily speaking, we are not meant to live in isolation. Inside, each of us has an inborn fear of not being accepted or our contributions being shunned by our community. We feel the strongest resonance for service. As a business owner and entrepreneur, the sting of rejection can penetrate like a dagger to the heart. It can be very difficult not to take rejection personally. It is our idea, our blood and our sweat and tears that are shown at the exit. When you learn to embrace and practice certain strategies, you will no longer be afraid or try to avoid rejection. You might really look forward to it. In this video, I'll show you the ways to overcome the fear of rejection. Before that, click like, subscribe and share button, as well as the notification bell, for you to be always updated with my upcoming videos. Let us start. Number 1. Get to the root of your fear. The first step to letting go of the fear of rejection is to understand the problem both inside and out. At its core, rejection involves feeling that people are right when they reject you, because they have seen and appreciated you already. Take a look at the history of your personal and friendships, back to your childhood, and think about a time when you felt rejected. What were the circumstances? Maybe you were dismissive of your parents, or maybe you were overlooked or even shunned by your peers. Many people develop intense fear as a result of constant comparison with other people. This fear is similar to the fear of a child. Even a favorable comparison reinforces the belief that your value is ultimately the result of being better than others. It may be helpful to write a letter to your younger self, explaining everything you would like to know at the time, and reminding your inner child that everything will be okay. 2. Realize how fear affects you. To overcome your fear of rejection, you will have to relentlessly look at the negative consequences it has on your life. This step will be difficult, but it is the only important step towards real change. Pay attention to what makes you feel rejected, and what situations you are avoiding, consciously or unconsciously, to prevent this feeling. Maybe you are afraid to say no, or maybe you feel like you are burdening the person when you ask for what you want. Humans are social creatures, and it's okay to imitate others to smooth out social situations, but many people with a strong fear of rejection take this behavior to the extreme. They fear that their own individuality will not be enough. Be honest with yourself, what are you missing out on? Most importantly, understand that you are overcoming this fear for your own well-being. You don't do this to appear more confident in yourself, but rather to improve your sense of happiness and freedom. 3. Practice letting go of the fear of rejection. Part of the fear of rejection is fear of the unknown. Practice yourself in risky situations so that it is not the end of the world if you end up rejected. It will still hurt, but you experienced pain before, after which you continue to live your life and feel happiness again. Feeling once painful is not a life sentence to suffering. There is no need to be afraid of the feeling itself. In fact, it is inevitable and even useful to sometimes feel a certain rejection. One of the most useful strategies is to use scripts in your head and imagine the worst-case scenario. Reality is rarely as frightening as the unknown. 4. Develop a resilient attitude. Being rejected is always painful, but the factor that makes this fear destructive for many people is a selfless attitude. Get used to thinking about how to get rid of the fear of rejection, and look to the future, rather than dwelling on the feeling of rejection. Don't keep thinking about why you were rejected and what the person said about you. Pain is actually part of the healing process, but we sometimes stop this natural process before moving on to growth, overestimating the meaning of this feeling. Feeling is just a feeling. This does not mean that you are wrong or an unworthy person. Practice affirmative pain. Resistance increases the futility of the treatment. 5. Identify self-destructive thinking patterns. People who are afraid of rejection often blame themselves on every occasion. It becomes destructive when you constantly believe it is your own fault and let that belief undermine your self-esteem. No matter how cute you are, each person has a complex inner world that can make them alienate you for their own reasons. 6. Replace your thinking with a more realistic one. If you see every encounter as a potentially painful experience of rejection, you will interpret any negativity as rejection. You will see him even when he is not. If you want to get rid of the fear of rejection, try not to think about rejection at all. Instead, work to treat each meeting as an opportunity to interpret the failure realistically. Pay attention to the other person, do not focus on your own mistakes, but be more sensitive to his feelings. 7. Develop self-compassion. Being rejected is really harmful when you take it to heart. When you are rejected, you are more likely to react by scolding yourself, and perhaps even isolating yourself, which makes you feel worse. But aside from the time it takes to admit pain, the first step to healing is wanting to feel good, and treating your pain with loving kindness. Recognize that you do not wish this kind of pain on the people you care about, so treat yourself the same way you would treat those people in a similar situation. Remind yourself that regardless of the reason for rejection, you are your own ally. Give yourself permission to offer yourself comfort and compassion. 8. Don't give up on a relationship. When you are rejected, you can lose faith in the relationship. You begin to feel distrustful that the people you care about will be with you and not betray. It can force you to distance yourself from people and build inner walls to protect your emotions. Being vulnerable with a real look may no longer make you feel comfortable with the people you care about. The fear of rejection makes you more discerning and careful, but don't give up on people in your life who love you as much as you love them. Remember that the fear of rejection dries up in the human condition and is the normal response to the fact that we are all drawn to belonging. Thank you very much for watching.